Tickets to Omaha are on the line as the super regional round of the NCAA baseball tournament begins this weekend. 5 SEC teams look to punch their ticket, find themselves next weekend in the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska. Guys, we are here breaking it down, previewing, predicting everything, getting you ready for the weekend that is coming. And guys, if it's anything like last weekend with the regionals, it is going to be an absolute electric factory. Guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Also, guys, of course, we're all across social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And if you're going to the Super Regionals this weekend, or if you're considering and you need tickets, our friends at SeatGeek have got you covered. Go to SeatGeek.com, use promo code SECU. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Again, guys, that's SeatGeek, promo code SECU at checkout for $20 off. Again, guys, we're talking super regionals, breaking it all down and helping me do so. My good friend, colleague, co-host of the wind-up and of this show, Harrison Fant. Harrison, what's going on, man? Excited to talk some super regional baseballs. Again, we've got 5 SEC teams looking to punch their ticket.
Yeah, Chris, great to be here. And we had an incredible weekend. Like we've been so high on about regional baseball, and just postseason baseball is unbelievable. And we're getting another weekend of it this week with the super regionals, and then Omaha just a week away. It's the best time of the year for college baseball, and you can't not love it. The game is growing so fast. The game is so much fun to watch, and the players are getting better and better every year. And it's incredible to watch as a fan.
Harrison, 16 teams remain. Only 8 will advance. Is there any way we can top what happened last weekend, though? I mean, with the walk-offs, with the dramatics, this weekend's got a lot to live up to. It's possible, but it's got a lot to live up to. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I'm going to say no, just because of
less teams, too. Less teams.
Less teams, a little bit less storylines. You don't have Gary Gilmore in his final season anymore. That's kind of now been concluded. But you do have West Virginia Randy Mays in his final season and what West Virginia's been able to do. But we're going to get the baseball gets better and better each week because the best teams are still hanging around, still staying alive, and still pursuing a national championship. And that's what's so good about this weekend. Last weekend, you're going to get those upsets like a 4 seed being a 1 or a 4 seed winning a regional in a case that we're about to talk about. So it's a different type of great. We're not going to get 6 walk-offs in the first day, let alone 9, in the first 2 days. But we're going to get some special games and some incredible performances, incredible play-by-play and call this weekend for sure.
Harrison, like you mentioned, the best of the best remain. We have 16 total teams in the super regional round. Only 8 get to go to Omaha. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into everything. We will start with the #1 overall seed, who we talked about, Harrison. It was sort of a ho-hum weekend for the Volunteers. Really, Tennessee just flexing their muscles, taking care of their business, and they get the reward of hosting the Knoxville Super Regional, not against Wake Forest, not against East Carolina, but the 4 seed Evansville, who found
Shout out the Purple Aces.
Shout out to the Purple Aces. And by the way, Harrison, before we go any further, shout out to NCAA Baseball because these are their graphics from X. Hope you guys don't mind. I know they don't. But either way, shout out to those guys. Sick graphics. We appreciate the help. Either way, though, the Evansville Purple Aces, who, Harrison, what impressed me the most was the fact they were able to. I thought once it went to a Game 7, I thought East Carolina, there's no way Evansville is going to take down ECU at their place in a Game 7. Credit to Evansville, the resiliency, the way they were able to win that ball game. The 4 seed now advances to the Knoxville Super Regional. Tennessee rolling in here with confidence, and Tennessee, the fan base, has tons of confidence as well. It feels like, hey, there's not going to be much of an issue for Tennessee to punch their ticket here. Your thoughts on this Super Regional? And who's your prediction to move on to Omaha?
Yeah, Chris, the Super Regional, like you said, that no one, I think, outside of the Purple Aces expected. shout out to the Purple Aces.
They may not even have expected it, honestly. I mean,
no. I mean, they definitely know. It's one of those things when you go into the post and you expect, hey, we're here to win. We're not just here to, play an extra game or two. We're coming here to win. We want to show we can hang with the big boys and hang with the East Carolinas, the Wake Forests, the ACC, SEC teams, and they proved that this weekend. And there's a lot to guac about in Evansville, that's for sure. I mean, there's a lot to guac about for sure. And it's on the backs of their 2 guys, of Mark Schallenberger, who is their leading guy. They have 4 guys hitting over 300, Chris. Mark Schallenberger is hitting almost 400 with a 1,200 OPS. And then Kip Ferger, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. Just those are the 2 home run hitters. They're 2 RBI guys. And like we said, it's in a position in which we didn't think they would be here. In this Tennessee team and how dominant they are on both sides of the ball, offensively, they're top 5 in offensive production, top 5 pitching staff as well. And I just don't see Evansville being able to hang around. And I believe Tennessee's going to take care of business in 2 and sweep their way through the Super Regional to Omaha under Tony Vitello.
Harrison, Tennessee is as complete as it gets. Now, Evansville, let me say this. It's college baseball. It's crazy. And I mentioned this, Harrison, a couple days ago, and I think Tennessee fans, they didn't love it because I was watching that East Carolina-Evansville game like so many of us were, and I'm sitting there thinking, watching Harrison, I'm not going to lie, I was like, I think Tennessee's going to crush whoever this is. Whoever wins this game, doesn't matter. I think Tennessee's going to have their way. And I mentioned on social media, like, is it too early? Am I being too bold? And you could tell the Volunteer fans that were battered and bruised that were saying, yes, shut up. Don't jinx us. So I promise, guys, I wasn't trying to jinx you. And it's baseball. Anything can happen. This Evansville team, they're scrappy. They're here for a reason, right? Everybody who's here is here for a reason. So could craziness happen, right? Could a miracle take place? Could Evansville win the series? Sure. But they're counting on a miracle, and Harrison Hope's not a strategy. And it's more about
on the road, too.
On the road, Lindsey Nelson's going to be a madhouse. They're going to, even though, by the way, we look at these game times, 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday. They got the 11 a.m. Eastern first pitch on Saturday.
Might be good for Evansville.
Might be good for Evansville. Sunday, if necessary, we'll see. Either way, though, this series, Harrison, to me, it's all about Tennessee. If Tennessee plays their brand of baseball, all due respect to Evansville, I don't think it matters, right? So I'm curious to see with Tennessee, do we see the bats continue to stay hot, right? Guys like Billy Amick, guys like Christian Moore, guys like Blake Burke, and then the supporting cast as well, because they go further than much deeper than just those three.
Dylan Dreiling, it's so deep top to bottom.
Yeah, it's what makes them so dangerous. And obviously on the pitching staff with A.J. Russell and Causey and Drew Beam and you know, that entire pitching staff they've got. They're so deep across the board. They're a complete ball club. They're the number 1 seed, the number 1 team in the country for a reason. I agree with you, Harrison. I think Tennessee wins this series. I think they win the Super Regional. I think they sweep through the Super Regional. Evansville, they're a great story. They're a Cinderella story. Baseball's a crazy game. Anything can happen.
Or Roberts made it as a 4-seed Omaha last year.
Indeed. But I think the Cinderella run is going to end in Knoxville because I just think Tennessee, I mean, there are, Harrison, there are few teams that could beat Tennessee right now and beat Tennessee when they're clicking. And I don't think Evansville's one of them. So Chris, I don't think anybody, I don't know if anybody right now could beat Tennessee when they're clicking on all cylinders, honestly.
Yeah, Chris, maybe in a game, but in a series, I don't see it happening. Yeah. But the thing is, for me, this Evansville team's going to be facing a lineup in which they have not seen before. I mean, like Wake Forest is a really good lineup. East Carolina has a solid lineup, but Wake Forest's been a little inconsistent this year. And so this Tennessee lineup is, like we said, top to bottom, 1-9, deep as it gets in NCAA in college baseball this year. And looking at the matchups, just with the pitching matchups, and let's say A.J. Causey pitches game 1 against Keaton Deaverman for Evansville. Deaverman's kind of their ace. They're number 1 guy. I mean, Tennessee's still a -356 with a 78% chance to win. With a projected score of about almost 10-5, 10-4. It's just the statistics back it up like it should in this situation. I mean, obviously anything can happen in college baseball, but with the metrics and analytics, Tennessee has a 92% chance to win this regional and advance to, or Super Regional, advance to Omaha.
Yeah, even if Tennessee has a lackluster pitching weekend, I just don't see how Evansville can keep up with the bats of Tennessee. So again, to your point, Harrison, and we're both in agreement here, the Vols sweep through this one, punch their ticket to Omaha. Let's go to the number 2, taking care of business, Harrison, taking care of business. Number 2 overall national seed, the Lexington Super Regional at Kentucky Proud Park. This one is a Saturday, Sunday, Monday series. How about these first pitch times, Harrison? 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday night. People got to go to work the next day, right? Who cares? Whatever.
Players don't have to go to class, that's for sure.
Screw it, right? Whatever. And then Monday, if necessary, again, the Kentucky Wildcats hosting the Oregon State Beavers. This one, a really, really fun matchup. Again, we all know the story, guys, by now. With Kentucky, Nick Mingione's club really, again, took care of business in their own regional, took down Indiana State in that regional championship game. And all of a sudden, Harrison, here comes Oregon State. You look at that logo, you talk about Oregon State baseball. They got one of the best players in college baseball, and Trevor Bazana. But you look at the history, the tradition, everything that comes to Oregon State baseball. And I think everybody, Harrison's going to be leaning Oregon State because of that. It's still little old Kentucky. Kentucky shouldn't be here. Kentucky baseball's not supposed to win. They've never been to Omaha before. Harrison, even crazier stat. I found this out. This is the first time Kentucky baseball has ever gone to the postseason at all in back-to-back seasons. That blew my mind. So we are talking some uncharted territory for Kentucky, trying to do something never been done before, punch the ticket to Omaha. Your thoughts on the Lexington Super, and does Kentucky get it done?
Yeah, this is going to be an incredible super regional matchup against, like you said, two kind of opposite historically, defined programs by the success that Oregon State has had over the years, and winning a national title in 2018 over Arkansas, and then Kentucky, and then making the most of their postseason, the best performance they've had in school history under head coach Nick Mingione. And it's going to be an awesome, awesome series to watch. Two kind of different styles of play. We talk about how Kentucky's a very strong defensive team, doing the right things, gritty, sack bunts, squeezes, error-free, clean baseball, just scrappy, hard-nosed, stealing bases. They steal one of the most bases in the tournament, let alone in the SEC. They outstole everyone in the SEC, that's for sure. But it's going to be really tough because, like you said, Oregon State is one of the best players in college baseball, and Travis Bazzana. He'll be projected a top 5 pick for sure. He's batting. It's crazy, Chris. His OPS is over 1,500, and he's batting, I think, 480. It's unbelievable. And it's not just him is the thing. They have supporting cast around. You have a Micah McDowell who's batting over 400 as well, almost 1,200 OPS. You have a Trent Caraway who's batting 350 with almost 1,000 OPS. They're not just a one-man band on the bat side, but on the mound, they do have some good guys. They got Jacob Matz, Aiden May, who transferred from Arizona. Those are kind of their two workhorses, and are going to be some studs on the mound for them. But it's going to be really cool to see these different styles of offenses in play go head to head. And it's I think one of the more unknown how things are going to shake out. What we do know is that Oregon State doesn't play as well outside of Corvallis. They really have not played as well outside of Corvallis. And hosting that super regional was huge. Regional for them out in Oregon was huge for them. But that doesn't mean they can't play. They played very well early this season on the road in neutral sites, right in Texas, and some like Round Rock kind of style tournaments. But look at the matchup in what I expect to be game 1 of Jacob Matz, and I think Mason Moore maybe game 1, but probably not, just because he pitched, I think, Sunday or Saturday. Oregon State has a -127 with a 56% chance to win. It's about 7-5, 7-6 games. So it's going to be really tight games. It's going to be awesome to watch. It should go to 3 games for sure. I'm expecting that to happen, and an awesome regional. And I think one of more that's going to be slept on compared to some other matchups, but projections have Oregon State winning this super regional, the 48% chance, compared to Tennessee edging them out barely with a 52% chance to win this regional. So we'll see. It's really, really close, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
So who's your pick, Harrison? Who are you going with? Kentucky or Oregon State? You got to make a pick, my guy. Come on now. Where's the pick at?
Yeah, Chris. And with that said, just leaning on the fact of how Oregon State plays outside of Corvallis, I'm going with Kentucky Wildcats to make some history. Go to Omaha for the first time. Nick Mingione, everything's clicking for them at the right time. They had some kind of I want to say a large speed bump in the regional with the Western Michigan game. I think they learned a lot from that. It didn't blow up in their face. They didn't lose the game, but I think they break history and go to Omaha for the first time, these Kentucky Wildcats.
So do we think Trey Poozer go game 1 for Kentucky? Do we think that's who they probably turn to?
I would expect Trey Poozer to go game 1 probably, and then maybe Mason Moore game 2.
Yeah,
I would like to see Mason Moore go game 2 instead of Dominic Neiman. He hasn't been himself.
I think definitely
since the first
Moore.
half of the season.
Yeah, talking to the Kentucky folks, I think definitely Moore is going to be. It's going to be Poozer and Moore as their two-headed monster this weekend.
Yeah, and then in game 3 is just probably a shorter start from Dominic Neiman, and then all hands on deck.
Yeah, all hands on deck. Kentucky with a chance to punch their ticket to Omaha, man. I love what and I'll just say this. I love what Kentucky has done this year. I think if Kentucky's going to win this series, Harrison, I think it's probably going to be in 2 games. If it goes to a game 3 where it's Dominic Neiman on the bump and all hands on deck, I don't love the optics of that for Kentucky.
It'd probably be against Eric Segura for Oregon State. They're kind of 3 guys. He's got a sub-5 ERA in 69 in the 3rd innings and a 1.28 whip. So,
yeah, I think if Kentucky's going to win this series, I think they've got to do it in 2 games. And I think Oregon State is too good to get swept here. So If Kentucky wins it, if Kentucky wins it in 2, I think they win it. If it goes to 3 games, I like Oregon State and Harrison. I've been doubting Kentucky at every turn. They've been proving me wrong at every turn. So maybe I'm the reverse jinx Kentucky needs to get to Omaha because I'm going to doubt them again. I'm going to go with Oregon State.
I think it's going to go 3 games.
I think it's going to go to 3 games. And I think in a rubber match game 3, I'm a little nervous about Kentucky's pitching. It'll be a great environment. They're going to have all the support they need, but I do after Poos or after Moore, I don't trust that Dominic Neiman and that crew, all they have left, will be able to get it done. So I trust Oregon State a little more. So I'm going to take Oregon State here to edge out Kentucky. Okay. And outside of Corvallis, winning on the road, I don't know. You know what? Listen, again, I think Kentucky fans watching this are probably ecstatic that I'm not picking Kentucky to win because every time I picked against them, Kentucky's won. So maybe this is what they need. But I'm going to go with Oregon State here, Harrison, to take 2 out of 3 in a 3-game set. They clinch it on Monday. So
maybe James McCoy starts for the Wildcats, and that could be just kind of switch up in game 3 that they can need. So he's been really good.
Maybe a hero emerges, no doubt. Let's go to College Station, Bluebell Park, the College Station Super Regional, the number 3 overall seed, Texas A&M Aggies. They host the Oregon Ducks. This is another Saturday through Monday series, 2 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday night. Monday, of course, if necessary. Harrison, your thoughts after Texas A&M navigates their way through their own regional? Ho-hum to a degree, although they had a thriller against their arch rival Texas. And then you have the Oregon Ducks, who came out of the UC Santa Barbara region. They were the 3 seed in that regional advance, right? One of those killer 3 seeds that surprised us. Texas A&M, Oregon, your thoughts, and who comes out on top?
Yeah, this Oregon Ball Club, and they just been on another impressive year in the postseason. I mean, they did it last year, just going deep in the postseason, and I believe going to a super regional as well. I think it was the one at Vandy, if I believe that's correct. Mm-hmm. And they played very well, and it's just they seem to play better in the postseason than the regular season, and it's on the backs of Drew Smith and Jeffrey Hurd for them on the offensive side, batting just over 300 and right at 300 for Hurd. But the pitching's been solid too. It hasn't been overwhelming. You got Grayson Griswold and Kevin Sider, both kind of sub-3 or sub-4 and sub-5 ERAs. But then you look at this Texas lineup, and we talk about how deep they are and how they have the best 1, 2, 3 in the country, I believe. I mean, Gavin RHOBAK, SEC freshman, I think All-American for sure. Jace Lavalette, one of the best player, 2 holes in the country in just the season he's had and the home runs. I mean, I think he leads back-to-back seasons with 25 home runs for him. First time in Aggie history doing that. And then Bray Montgomery, him heating up the regional. That was huge for them too. And then just the rest of the lineup around them. You got Ted Burton and Hayden Schott and just the pitching staff. I mean, Ryan Prager. I mean, it's just I think how deep they are in playing at home at Bluebell Park. The bubbles are going to be flying. It's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere. They're going to be loud, rowdy, and I got the Aggies going back to Omaha, Chris. I mean, looking at the projection right now matchup, Texas A&M is about a minus 223 favorite with a 69% chance to win. A 7-4 game is what we're looking like, at least in game 1. It's going to be really awesome to see. I think Oregon's really going to pack a punch, but I just don't know if they're going to be hanging around for a 3-game series with A&M.
I like that pick, Harrison. To your point, by the way, here's a fun stat for you. Did you know that in the College Station Regional, so last weekend, Jace Lavalette did not record an extra base hit, and Texas A&M's offense still did what they did. And that's obviously not a knock on Jace Lavalette at all. It's more of a credit to, like you mentioned, how deep the Aggies lineup is. Even if one of their stars has a so-so weekend or he goes in a slump, right? I mean, look how good Texas A&M was even down the stretch when Braden Montgomery was hitting 150 in the month of May. And you know those kind of guys, you saw him this past weekend, they're going to get hot, they're going to get rolling, and that spells trouble for everybody in their way. Oregon's starting pitching fascinates me. They've been pretty good this year. I think they have a couple of dudes on the bump, obviously. Oregon plays some really, really good baseball there. We just talked about Oregon State. Now we're talking about the Oregon Ducks, so the state of Oregon well represented.
Definitely.
But you mentioned at Bluebell Park, Harrison, a place where I mentioned earlier this week, I think it's one of the most underrated venues in college baseball when it really gets rocking. It's going to be a madhouse. I mean, it's going to be a madhouse all weekend, like you mentioned. Cue the bubbles. The Ball 5 chants are going to be had. Texas A&M, I view them very, very similarly, Harrison, right now as I do Tennessee. They're complete. They're complete across the board, right? That's not to say they don't have bad days or play bad games. It's baseball, but they're as complete as it gets. They have very few flaws. They have very few holes. And I think Oregon's a nice story, right? I could see some tense moments for sure. I think it's going to be a fun series. I'm not going to guarantee it goes to 3 games, though. Texas A&M at Bluebell, I will not be surprised. This is 2 and done. A&M sweeps their way. But I do think A&M is going to win this super regional. I think they are going to punch their ticket to Omaha. This team is just too good. I think Oregon, again, nice story, did a good job in the UC Santa Barbara regional. And you look at their schedule, I mean, Oregon was solid this year, right? Only have a couple series losses to like Oregon State and Corvallis. They lost 2 of 3 to Stanford on the road. Like, there aren't a whole lot of blemishes on the schedule where you're like, wow, they just had a terrible weekend. Like, what happened there? Oregon's a solid club. A&M is next level. It's going to take a next level performance to beat them. I don't think that happens. So I'm rolling with you, man. I'm rolling with Texas A&M. I think on their home ballpark, it's a no-brainer. The Aggies are going to get the job done and punch their ticket to Omaha.
Yeah, Chris, and just I think the bullpen too for A&M is a little bit better than Oregon's.
They got some fireballers in that bullpen. I mean, some fireballers.
It's so fun to watch their bullpen and their pitching staff pitching. Ryan Prager, and then you just got, I mean, Evan Ashton back out of the pen. I mean, he's like their lead. He's their number 1 guy out of the pen for sure. But Oregon coming out of the pen, you have Logan Mercado and Ryan Featherstone have just been their studs out of the pen, both over 40 innings, under 15 earned runs. So those are going to be the kind of first 2 guys and main staples of their bullpen that you see come out. And I just think that the Texas A&M offense is going to get to them more than Oregon gets to A&M's bullpen. But looking at the statistics and numbers of who's projected to win this super regional, A&M has a 91% chance to win the super regional. So,
wow,
we'll see.
Heavy favorites indeed. Again, I think Texas A&M, they'll play that way this weekend. Let's go to a really fun one, Harrison, and one that I did not think we'd be talking about, admittedly, the Clemson Super Regional at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, the 6th overall seed. But Clemson, Harrison, is not why we're talking about this one. We're talking about this one because the Florida Gators, Kevin O'Sullivan and company, run through Stillwater, pull the upset as the 3 seed. Harrison, you knew it was going to be the year of the 3 seed, right? Certainly not the 2 seed. The 3 seed, Harrison, the 3 seed Gators. They navigate through this another Saturday, Sunday, Monday series, or super regional, if you will. 2 p.m. Eastern, first pitch on Saturday, 2:30 on Sunday, if necessary, of course, on Monday. Harrison, this one, which per sources, SECU boots on the ground once again in Clemson, South Carolina at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Per sources, you may catch us out at the Cajun Cafe eating a Italian sausage sandwich or whatever they serve out there. Either way, Harrison, your thoughts on this one? We get another look at Jack Caglione. We get a look at a fantastic Clemson team that we both watched last weekend. This might be the most intriguing super regional of all. Just think about these brands, and you think about great college baseball, and it's a great logo game, right? Just looking at it on the screen here. Your thoughts on this one? Clemson, Florida, who wins?
Yeah, Chris, I mean, this is definitely the most intriguing one, and I think people outside of Gainesville in that clubhouse didn't expect Florida to be here, especially going on the road, playing at a very, very good Oklahoma State team.
You warned me, though. You warned me. You warned us. You warned us all.
I said, watch Florida go on a postseason run here.
And we laughed in your face, Harrison, admittedly. But look who's laughing now.
More smirk, but it's going to be such a fun series to watch. Expect a lot of baseballs to be run out to the umpire because the ball is going to be flying at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. It's not the biggest ballpark, right? We've been there. It's a good size ballpark. It's a great atmosphere for sure, but just the offensive power on both sides. I mean, if you like betting college baseball, and I don't advise doing it, take a look at the overs in this game, in this series, because the ball's going to be flying. Pitching staffs aren't great on either side. It's definitely highlighted by the hitting on both sides and the power of it. I mean, it's Cam Cannarella. It's Blake Wright. It's just the lineup for Clemson is pretty deep, and they got 5-6 guys batting over 300, right? It's just, you got 4 guys at the nose of 1,000 OPS or right over it, and you got 2 guys over 20 home runs for them. I mean, just the power is what has gotten Clemson here. But then you look at Florida, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, Chris. You got Jack Caglianone, 31 RBI, 31 home runs. Kobe Shelton, 20 home runs. I mean, you got Luke Heyman, who he's like their 7th kind of strongest, best hitter, if you want to look statistically, 15 home runs, almost 50 RBIs. You got, I mean, Tyler Shelton, you got Ty Evans, both double-digit home runs. They got just stacks of guys. Brody Dene, he's got double-digit home runs as well. It's just, the offense is going to be, it's going to be a slugfest for sure. But then you look at it, Jack Caglianone has to have a great outing on the mound if Florida's going to win this series. He has to. He didn't at Oklahoma State, and they still got by on the backs of a lot of young relievers at the bullpen. And a good start from Leading Peterson, a really good start from him. So they're going to need that for sure. And then on Clemson's side, Aiden Kanak, I saw him pitch in person, a gross cutter. He's just got a filthy movement on it and really good, strong feel for it and control and command. He's going to be Clemson's ace, I think. They saved him for later in the regional. He pitched well. I mean, he got a standing ovation walking off the field. And then you got Ethan Darden as well. He's going to pitch for them. And it's just going to be awesome to see who's pitching kind of holds the other to a lower total. You know, it's just who's going to be able to hold the line, if at all. And it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, Clemson right now, if looking at the series, is a -123 favorite head-to-head in at least game one with a almost 6-5, 6-4 kind of score projection. But then you look at just how they've been playing recently. Both been playing great, but at the end of the day, I got to ride with the hotter hand.
And the hotter hand is?
I just got to ride with Florida stepping up and stepping up with the pitching staff. I think the young pitching staff steps up again. They're not afraid of playing in a hostile environment. Clearly, they've done it on the road this past weekend. They've done it on the road at Alex Box. They played in College World Series, and just that experience plays. You know, the coaching experience plays as well. I just think Jack Caglianone has a great outing and hits probably, I'd say, at least 2 home runs. And I think the bullpen, the younger guys step up again and just have a little bit better control and command and just hold Clemson's offense more than Clemson's bullpen holds Florida's.
You know, Harrison, the folks in Clemson treated us really well last weekend.
Definitely in game 3, though, Chris.
Definitely game 3. I'm making the point. The folks in Clemson treated us really well last weekend. And I'm happy to see that has not affected your objectivity when it comes to picking this weekend. Kudos to you. Florida, what a story. I mean, again, I sold my stock, Harrison, on Florida so many times, maybe more than Vandy, which is saying something because I flip-flopped on Vandy like a bad political candidate, right? I mean, I just was flip-flopping every single day. So when it comes to the Gators, you finish one game over 500. It feels like this in the regular season. I mean, you're one of the last teams in. You make the most of it. You come out of the losers bracket. The craziest thing was how Florida did it, Harrison, was they were so bad in the midweek this year because we felt like they lacked pitching depth. Then, when you need pitching depth the most, they rose to the occasion, and they took down a really good Oklahoma State team. Clemson, I've been really impressed over the last couple of months how I think their pitching has really come around. Like, you look at the numbers, and they look good, but I remember early in the season where it was very shaky, and you're thinking, does this team have the pitching depth to go on a serious run and make a serious run to Omaha? And I think they do now. I think, to your point, Harrison, this is the most intriguing Super Regional of the weekend. I'm so excited to watch this one all weekend, to be there and see that environment and see that atmosphere. I think this
sources have now confirmed.
The what now? Oh, sources have now confirmed. Yeah. Whoops. Either way, I think it's going to go to 3 games. I think, to your point, it's going to go back and forth. I think we're going to see some balls leave the yard because Doug King's more, if the wind's blowing in, it can be pitcher friendly. But for the most part, it's a bomb box. It feels like a bomb box when you're there. So this is going to be a battle all weekend. I cannot wait to watch this.
And
I love Florida's story. Florida, this team, if they get hot, which they are hot right now, if they keep it rolling, they've got the talent to make it not just to Omaha, but the finals. Like, I think they could get back, which sounds crazy, but we know how talented they are. I think Jack Caglianone's going to be a star this weekend. I think that you're going to see some guys step up on the mound for Florida that we saw last weekend. But I got to go Clemson. I got to go Clemson in a 3-game series at home at Doug Kingsmore. They haven't been to Omaha in over a decade. I'm a huge fan of Eric Bakich. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think Clemson baseball, Harrison, I think they're back. I think Clemson baseball is back as we knew it years ago. I think Clemson gets to Omaha. I think Florida's magic might run out just a little bit, right? It was a really fun story last weekend. I think this is a different beast. Doug Kingsmore is going to be shaking for all 3 games. I think Clemson in the final game finds a way. I think it'll be the cardiac cats yet again, just like they were in their regional. And I think Clemson rides that magic to their first Omaha appearance since 2010. So give me the Tigers.
Yeah, Chris, it's going to be, I mean,
it's a coin flip. This is a coin flip.
It feels like a coin flip just because of the unknowns of Florida and just the inconsistencies they've had. But when you look at the adversity they've gone through and overcome this year is so much of no one else in the tournament. I mean, Clemson hasn't had that, let alone any other team that really in the tournament, it feels like, outside of LSU, who's not in it anymore. But then you just look at like Brandon Neely and the outing he had in Stillwater. I think he's just back. I think that clicked for him and things clicked, and he's gonna lock down the bullpen. He's gonna save a couple innings for arms. He's just gonna shove and slow down this Clemson offense that's just so high powered. And you think about it and look at it, Chris. Florida's playing with house money right now. No one expected them to be here. Yes, they expected to be here and they expect to go to Omaha, but no one outside of Florida Gators in Gainesville expects them to be here. And all the pressure's on Clemson to do it at home against what everyone is saying is an inferior and inconsistent and just untrustworthy Florida team. All the pressure's on Clemson at home. And the Gators are going to roll in there, house money with the best player in college baseball and Jack Callione, and just guys playing well at the right time. And just the adversity factor for me is just huge. And I think they pulled out in game 3.
It's going to be a lot of fun in the upstate of South Carolina. Final SEC Super Regional. Harrison takes us to Foley Field in Athens, Georgia. Are all of these Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or did I get twisted up? Either way, whatever. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, noon, if necessary. Eastern time first pitches. These games can be watched on ESPNU. The Georgia Bulldogs, the 7 overall national seed, takes on the 10 overall national seed, the NC State Wolfpack. Georgia looking to get back to Omaha. This is their first super since 2008. Trying to get back to Omaha for the first time since 2008. Harrison, your thoughts on this one? Again, I know this one close to home for you, literally and figuratively. Your thoughts, Georgia, NC State at Foley Field. Who wins?
Yeah, Chris, this is the matchup I had predicted and I expected going into the regionals, and just how they're kind of regional slated. I thought Georgia had an easier regional for sure, if not one of the easiest regionals of any team. And then NC State kind of got a weaker 2 seed and a weaker 3 seed. That was kind of the last 4 in, and then the 4 seed as well. And just, so, I mean, the adversity again that NC State has played with and experienced throughout this year. I mean, they have series wins over most of the ACC. The teams that are, especially the teams that are still in it, they have a series win over Duke, a series win over UNC, a series win over Wake Forest, a series win over Clemson. It's just, it goes on. And just the adversity they've played with, and just how special the team it feels like they have this year. It's going to be such an awesome series. And then Georgia, what we thought should have swept through that regional pretty easily, it came down to a final play that they would have almost went to a game 7, in which it was a ball 4 play, the ball 4 pitch that the Tech batter swings at, puts it in play, and just an unbelievable PFP that pitchers are athletes to and makes the play to win it against your rival. I mean, that does say a lot for me, doing that at home and just the kind of resurgence they've had as a program. It's going to be so much fun to see them pitch. I'm really curious what the situation is with Charlie Goldstein, because he came out in that Vanderbilt game I saw in person, and then he came to pitch in the regional, and he came out. It looked like elbow discomfort, or he was holding his elbow, and he came out. He didn't even record an out. So that's a concern for me, because he's one of their top pitchers on the staff for sure, outside of Colton Smith and then Leighton Finley. But yes, we talk about Charlie Condon. Because he's going to do his thing. He's batting almost 450 with a 1600 OPS. It's going to be what happens around him, right? And if NC State can slow down the bats around him, Corey Collins having a career year. I mean, almost 20 home runs, 55 RBIs. You got Paul Totes, who didn't have a loud series, but has a lot of pop in his bat. I mean, Slade Alford, another beast. He's got 16 home runs, almost 70 RBIs. And then you have, just Colby Branch, who's having a great year as well. 17 home runs and 57 RBIs. Trey Phelps, just the power up and down the lineup for Georgia is more consistent, I think, than Clemson. Or not Clemson, sorry, more consistent than NC State. And it's going to come down to, can you slow down Georgia's offense? And looking at just the stats and stuff from NC State, I just don't think that they're going to be able to do that with just the bullpen and the starters that they have. And we talk about Georgia and how inconsistent and worrisome that their pitching staff has been. It's gotten better over the season. Like I said, Charlie Goldstein is kind of a concern for me if he's not pitching and what his availability is. But I just think that playing at home, just the standard that Wes Johnson has now set at Georgia, and just the hunger that Georgia has to get back to the top. They haven't won a national championship since, I think, 1990 or 1991, I believe. To get back to Omaha, I think pushes them over an edge. And just they have one clutch hit, a double in the gap or whatever it is, late in the game against NC State's bullpen. I think they're going to pull it out and win the Super Regional against Omaha.
And Harrison, to your point earlier, you and I both had this matchup in the Supers, Georgia taking on NC State, advancing out of their regionals. It's been a magical season for the Dogs. I mean, really, and it's what's been interesting, Harrison, is like I say that, but I didn't go into the regionals, and I certainly don't go in the Supers with the thoughts of, man, it's been a magical run, but can Georgia hold this together? We got about halfway through the year, and we were like, Georgia's good. Like, this isn't smoke and mirrors. This isn't, man, they're just having a special year. It's like, Georgia's good. They struggle a little bit pitching here and there, right, for sure. But this is a really good team. Like, make no mistake, it is. Like you mentioned, I think what goes in Georgia's favor, the lineup is much more than just one guy. You know, we obviously focus on Charlie Condon and how special he's been. But Slade Alford, like you mentioned, Corey Collins, Trey Phelps has come on and has the best probably home run celebration in college baseball with the dog mask and taking a piss on the fire hydrant. That was electric. That was gold. That team's having fun. But here comes NC State, Harrison. And NC State, and I'll be honest with you, this pick, no matter which way I would have went, I think I have the least confidence in this pick because there are things I don't trust about each side. And then with NC State, Harrison, this is a team where the sum of the parts is greater than each of the individual parts, if that makes sense. Like, you look at NC State on paper, they're not impressive number-wise. They're really not all that impressive, but they have just found ways to win. They've gone toe-to-toe with the best of the best in the ACC. And throughout college baseball, they've beaten all of them. I mean, they've beaten all of them. So, like, I'm really scared to trust Georgia's pitching. I'm really scared to doubt NC State. But with that being said, I am going with the Georgia Bulldogs, Harrison, at home. I think the Dogs, that offense, I think, is going to play against a suspect State pitching staff. I think we're going to see some higher scoring games. I think this is going to be a 3-game series because, again, I do think NC State's a quality club, but I think Georgia going to have a little bit more, and I don't think this magical run is done just yet. And, again, I don't say magical run as an insult. It's just been a really special year. This Georgia team, really good. They deserve to be here. But we talked about, Harrison, before the postseason got going. Hey, we like Georgia's path. Let's call it for what it is. It's a favorable path. It's as manageable a path as anyone. I think the Dogs will take advantage of that. I think they'll pick on that NC State pitching staff. I think they'll have just enough to outlast State on the Mountain. And Georgia's been better, by the way, on the mound as of late over the last couple of weeks or so as the season's progressed. Really fun ball games, really close ball games. It's going to be a really, really fun weekend in Athens. I think Georgia finds a way to outlast NC State and punch their ticket to Omaha for the first time since 2008.
Yeah, Chris. And like you said, it's been a really favorable path for them is what we noticed immediately. And expecting to play NC State. I mean, yes, they're a 1 seed. They're kind of one of the weaker 1 seeds of the bunch, you could say, for sure, of State. But often, or pitching wise, they're kind of similar. Georgia's been a little bit better statistically in the tournament. I mean, just a lot of kind of red flags for NC State's pitching staff in the tournament ranks, let alone national ranks. And Georgia, not that much better. But then when you look at the offense, second in WOBA, weighted on base average, 5th in on base percentage, 2nd in slugging. This is national rankings, Chris. 3rd in home runs. They're 1st in tournament WOBA, 4th in OBP, 1st in slugging, 2nd in home runs in the tournament. And then NC State is just nowhere near that. 50s, 60s nationally, 80s nationally in the tournament, 30s and 40s in those categories as well. It's wild to think that Georgia's pitching staff statistically, the past 10 games or this season has been better than NC State's, just with how we don't really view them like that. I mean, they have a 5.6 ERA. NC State's got a 6.1 ERA, right? But then the offensive weight production is significantly better for Georgia. It's 151 WRC plus, weighted runs created plus. compared to NC State's season of 114. That's 14% better versus 51% better. It's in playing at home. It's just too many factors for me that line up in Georgia's favor to not take them and not see them advance. But hey, it's college baseball. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen indeed. So, folks, that's the look preview predictions at the SEC Super Regionals. Really quickly, Harrison, let's run through the other three, right? Why not? Let's have some fun. We went through, obviously, all the SEC Supers. Let's look at some of the non-SEC action. There are three other Super Regionals, which will determine who goes to Omaha, Nebraska in the College World Series. We will start in Chapel Hill, Bryson Field at Boshamer Stadium. North Carolina, the 4 overall national seed, takes on the West Virginia Mountaineers. This is a Friday through Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, then, of course, if necessary, on Sunday. Your thoughts, UNC, West Virginia, after North Carolina's thrilling regional win over LSU, and West Virginia, 3 seed. Maybe they weren't expected to be here, but they do find themselves here. Thoughts on the Super and who wins this one?
Yeah, Chris, this is going to be a great Super Regional watch too, but I think it's just going to be too heavy of a favorite with UNC, just how dominant they are on both sides of the ball, more specifically their offense. I mean, statistically, they have one of the better offenses in this tournament. When you look at the numbers, I mean, it's consistent throughout their offense too. It's not just like part of it, which is good to hear. And it's not just like one guy, 2 guys can pitch around. I mean, they're top 15 in weighted on base percentage, batting average, on base percentage, slugging, 21st in home runs. And just it's in the nation. It just their lineup's so deep, and just be able to do that consistently in a conference like the ACC really proves to how good of a team and how deep and consistent you are. And on the pitching staff, I mean, they have the 14th best ERA, 12th best fielding independent pitching. It's FIP in the country, and it's going to be a lot for West Virginia to kind of maintain and keep up with. I mean, they don't rank nearly well. I mean, they're on base percentage. Their weighted on base percentage is 171st in the country. I mean, slugging's 89th in the country. It's just not, I mean, they don't walk a lot either. I mean, they're 261st in the country, Chris, in walks. So they're not getting a lot of guys on base, and the offensive production is nowhere near what UNC's is. It's going to be tough for them to keep up, like I said. And just the bullpen for UNC, Dalton Pence, we saw him, and just how he slammed the door shut for UNC in Chapel Hill against LSU. He said post-game, he talked with head coach Scott Forbes and said, we planned for this happen. This is my situation. This is the situation I'm expecting you. I'm the closer. I'm finishing this game. This is my game to finish, basically is what he said. And he went out there and slammed the door shut and lifted UNC to a super regional that they're hosting in such a ruckus atmosphere. I mean, there's guys standing on other facilities at UNC watching the game on the top of the walls, bleachers and whatnot, buildings. It was incredible to watch. And it's just going to be tough for West Virginia to keep up with. I know it's their head coach, Brady Mays' last season, and just the magic of that. We know we talked about that with Gary Gilmore as well. Could something special happen? I think something special happened. They got to a super regional, but I think this is where they fall short and lose to UNC.
Love J.J. Weatherholt's game. I think he's a fantastic player. West Virginia's been a really fun team to watch. I think sort of underrated all year long. Was really impressed with UNC. Obviously, watched that North Carolina LSU game, and they were fantastic. Vance Honeycutt is an electric factor, as we all know. I think UNC might be a team that in SEC circles we don't pay quite as much attention to, but we should because they're one of the best teams in the country. Yeah. Like you mentioned, man, in Chapel Hill, I think offense, I think there is going to be a lot of offense. I do like North Carolina, though. This could go 3 games. I would not be surprised. West Virginia's scrappy. I think UNC will find a way to get the job done. They'll punch their ticket to Omaha. I just like what they have a little bit more than West Virginia. So I think it's been a magical run for the Mountaineers, but I think it ends at Boshamer Stadium. North Carolina punches the ticket to Omaha, led by a strong offensive performance, offensive output this weekend, I'll say. So
Vance Honeycutt, one of the best players in that. See him against go-ahead headache.
And Gallagher's been a legend.
Freshman
He's a
with
legend.
The walk-off grand slam. It's going to be awesome. Someone's going to step up again, a young guy. But J.J. Weatherholt versus Vance Honeycutt's going to be awesome to see. 2 of the top prospects in the upcoming draft. But look at the numbers right now. UNC's minus 301 against West Virginia in the series with a kind of a predicted score, at least in game 1, of 9-5, 9-4. So it's heavy favorites. And I just see UNC having too much power, and I think they take care of business in 2, Chris.
Let's go next, Harrison, to the Charlottesville Super Regional. This at Davenport Field at Dishardin Park, I believe it is. Friday through Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern first pitch on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Saturday, Sunday, of course, if necessary. The 12 overall national seed Virginia Cavaliers host Kansas State, Harrison, the winners of the Fayetteville regional, taking down Arkansas, beating Hagen Smith at their place at Baum Walker. So Kansas State, one of the biggest surprises in the field of 64. What are your thoughts on this one? Does upset-minded Kansas State keep their magical run going, or does Virginia on the home field punch their ticket?
Yeah, Chris, it's going to be another awesome atmosphere, another ACC team hosting. ACC has been very successful. I think 5 of the 8 teams they had in the postseason are still alive, to show how strong the ACC is. And Kansas State had coming out of that Fayetteville regional, which ended up being a pretty tough and hard-fought regional. I think they had the most home runs of any regional, outdoing Stillwater, which I think that was what everyone's kind of pick was. Fayetteville turned into a bomb box. It was really cool to see, and they played really well. Their bullpen's gotten better. They were really good entering the season, coming in to start. You have Neighbors out the bullpen. They're one of the best, back-end guys in college baseball. But again, when you look at it, this league feels just such like an offensive league right now. In Virginia, top to bottom, is that they're top 5 in weighted on-base average, top 3 in batting average, top 5 in on-base percentage, top 5 in slugging, top 10 in home runs in the nation. I mean, their pitching staff isn't near that, let alone what we kind of have seen historically out of Virginia. But I mean, they're fielding independent pitching, which is, I think, a little bit better stat to look at for grading a pitcher than ERA as a whole, is 31st in the nation. So 21st in the tournament of all the teams entering the tournament. But then you look at Kansas State, their offense is nowhere near that. It's just a lot of red flags in the offense. I mean, their batting average is 213th in the nation coming into the tournament. I mean, it's just their weighted on base average is 186. It's not great, and I think it was enough to get them by in a regional, which the 1 seed in Arkansas was. It didn't really feel like an offensive regional for them. It turned into one, and they just kind of outlasted. And their bullpen was better than SEMO. Bullpen was better than Montauk, right? But I just don't think in a 3-game series against a stacked Virginia lineup like this, they're going to have enough offensive power to keep up. Their pitching's kind of where their bread and butter is, and where statistically it's been to top 40 in fielding independent pitching, 92nd ERA in the nation as well. But it's just nowhere near what's going to be able to keep up with this Cavaliers team, and a team that's Omaha caliber. It feels like year after year. With what just in the past 10 years. I mean, they've won national championship. They lost in the championship as well. And just this feels like a really special year for them. And I have them going back to Omaha.
Harrison, I like Virginia as well. Again, Kansas State's a fun story. I mean, we were all surprised what happened in Fayetteville, and I think they will not be intimidated, right? They were on that stage already, faced Hagen Smith, beat Hagen Smith, and did it in front of the Hogs faithful. Virginia will be raucous. They'll have a great atmosphere and environment. I think Kansas State will give their very best for sure, and I feel very chalky going with the favorites. But, again, at this point, at this stage, Harrison, the cream of the crop rises to the top. I think Virginia is one of the best. They swing it as good as anybody in the country, and I was really impressed in their regional, the way they were able to pitch as well. I thought showing the ability to win a low-scoring game, go toe-to-toe with Mississippi State and others, and win a 4-3, 5-4 game the same way they can win a 12-10 game, I thought was really impressive. You need that this time of year, and so I think Virginia, this may go 3 games. I will not be surprised, but I do think UVA will punch the ticket to Omaha.
Yeah, Chris, it was – their pitching has been better. And then the outing they got on the mound, at the end of the regional in Charlottesville, it was awesome. I mean, Jay Wolford just absolutely dealt in against a really good Mississippi State team. And he went 8 innings, 8 hits, 2 earned against a good offense in Mississippi State, 7 Ks, 1 walk. And just, if they can get that to go with their hitting, I mean, they're going to be a force to reckon with in Omaha. That's for sure. Because I have expected them to be in Omaha competing for a national championship this year.
Harrison, finally, Tallahassee Super Regional at Dick Hauser Stadium this Friday through Sunday, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Eastern, and then, of course, Sunday if necessary. Florida State, the number 8 national seed, takes on the UConn Huskies, who took down Oklahoma in their own regional in an upset. Thoughts on this one, Florida State, UConn, and who punches the ticket to Omaha?
Yeah, because it's crazy to think that UConn might be having the best athletics year in the nation. No one really expected them, to be in this super regional outside of those in Storrs, Connecticut, maybe, Hartford, maybe some Bristol area that I know some people there. But I mean, they were the number 3 seed in a really good regional with Oklahoma and Duke. And I think everyone was hammering Duke in that regional, and just with Oklahoma on the back burner, and it being a finals game in which UConn beat Oklahoma to advance. And statistically, look at their offense is not good. They're bottom 6th in the tournament, let alone the nation, bottom 6th in the tournament. It just weighted on base average, OPS. slugging, home runs. I mean, they're 36 in home runs. And this just feels the game has kind of evolved into a home run game in scoring runs and producing that way. And when you say that, you look at Florida State's offense. That's what they do. Top 15 in weighted on base average, batting average, top 10, slugging, top 10, home runs, top 16, the 107 home runs. They're top 10 in all those categories in the tournament rankings, let alone. And just their pitching staff has been better too. I mean, UConn's pitching staff has been kind of what's held them together and gotten them this far, I believe, in just shutting down offenses like Duke, offenses like Oklahoma, and doing it on the road, which is very impressive nonetheless. But just playing in Tallahassee, like you say, the magic of Mike Martin, and just how Link Jarrett has brought this Florida State Seminole team back from the struggles they had last season, missing the postseason, to what they are now. It's just, it's too much to overcome for UConn, and I have the Seminoles going back to Omaha.
You know, I hate to be chalky, and I guess we both are, Harrison, but I'm going Florida State as well, man. I mean, I think UConn, another situation, will not be intimidated. They've had postseason success. They've been here before. They've been in super regionals like recently, like as recent as the last couple of years. Like, they're not going to be intimidated, but the magic of Mike Martin, rest in peace, rest his soul. Florida State's playing for a lot more than just pride or bragging rights. Like, they're playing for something much bigger. And to your point, Harrison, Florida State is a really, really good team. Can swing the heck out of the stick. They're at home. I think it's going to be an electric weekend there in Tallahassee. I think Florida State gets it done. Again, not to be chalky, but I mean, hey, we get to this point you get to this point in the year, creme de la creme, the cream rises to the top. I think Florida State is one of those teams. So
yeah, Chris, and I've been to, it's Mike Martin Field at Dick Howser Stadium, and I've been there. Watched the game. It was in 2022, FSU Miami, the rivalry that is, and it was an electric atmosphere. Just the fans in every single pitch. The suites that we were in, walking around, experiencing that. It was an awesome experience. It's a very baseball town, and they come out and support Seminoles year after year after year, game after game after game, and it's going to be a rowdy atmosphere, and it's going to be fans locked in every pitch, Chris. It's going to be an awesome atmosphere. If you're in the area, go. But I think it's going to be too much for UConn to overcome.
Going to be an electric weekend of baseball for sure. In the super regional is at all 8 of the host sites, and 8 teams, Harrison, will punch their tickets to Omaha, the College World Series this weekend. Guys, it's going to do all for us. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Again, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get those as well. Also, we're all across social media, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And stay tuned to SEC Unfiltered for all your super regional coverage this weekend. And check out our friends at SeatGeek to go get your super regional tickets and get $20 off in the process using that promo code SECU. For Harrison Fant, I'm Chris Phillips. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.